with those who are actually coming up with the real STEM solutions. So that's where we found that we should start working with kids when they are in their early age. So that's where we came up with this particular program for the school-going kids in between 12 to 15 years. So this is our first cohort which we are doing right now in this program, which is focusing on the data science skill. So this program we are doing currently with Stanford University. So they have one initiative of their own in data science known as WiDS, Women in Data Science. So we collaborated with them. So while Stanford University is actually teaching the students on the theoretical concepts, MathWorks has actually collaborated with us, and they helped the kids by providing their MATLAB software to actually put these concepts into practice. So that's where these kids are now going to showcase whatever their work has been throughout all these 8 weeks of journey. It has been very incredible and remarkable performance, which the progress which the students has actually shown, and I'm sure you all will be seeing that through their presentations. So thank you once again for joining us. Over to you, Ramya.
Good evening, everybody. As Sridevi ma'am mentioned, thank you so much for taking time out today. And I'm Ramya, and I'm sure most of you know me. I'll just quickly introduce our jury, who've taken time out and who've come from different organizations and entities to actually listen to the interesting presentations today. And I would like to introduce Mr. Dev Tyagi, co-founder and director of Boston Limited. Ms. Lakshmi Nageshwari, Global Lead, AI Education and Solutions. Mr. Sumit Agarwal, Chair of Entrepreneurship, Young Indians, Confederation of Indian Industry. Mr. Ashwin Agarwal, Co-Chair of Entrepreneurship, Young Indians, Confederation of Indian Industry. Mr. Nitin Sharma from Qualcomm, who's an Intellectual Partner Department. Mr. Sanjay Gopinath, who's the Marketing and Communications Lead for MathWorks. And Mr. Viju Ravichandran, who's the Education Technical Evangelist from MathWorks. Can we have a round of applause for the jury? Thank you so much. And without wasting much time, I start off for what we've been waiting for so long. Team A, I would request you to take the dais. And they've picked in decent work and economic growth. The stage is all yours.
Not just in India, but across the world. Our goal is to inspire women to be self-reliant, stand on their own feet, walk hand in hand with men, upscale themselves, support their family financially, and of course, lead a decent life.
What are our sources of data and what insights did we get from these data sets? Using sites like Statista and WeBox helped us collect data that was relevant to our problem statement. Now, after we collected this data and plotted it, we saw trends in various topics. Topics like men and women employability and popular career domains. We also got to know the most profitable sectors in India and how they lead to the overall rise of the GDP. We also got insights on female labor force and their roles in economic development, not just in India, but throughout the world. Our main focus for data collection was India, but we also have some global data to analyze where India stands in the world and how we can improve.
Going into our project, our group has set a goal to find a solution to these three main questions. Number one, how is the contribution of women helping the GDP levels rise in developing countries? Number two, what percentage of women and men are actually employed? And finally, according to new age jobs, what are the skills that both men and women have?
Loading our data in MATLAB. Before we could pre-process, analyze, or plot our data, we obviously needed to load it into MATLAB. Using the command read table and assigning each table to a variable helped us do this in an efficient way.
The next step in data science is pre-processing the data, which is a very important step. A lot of the data we collected was redundant and unnecessary. So, by using the following lines of code, we were able to extract only the useful data. The tables, as you can see in the screenshot, contain only the information we wanted to plot in the graphs.
Now, to answer the first question that Ishanka stated, here is the code for our first graph, which was the GDP contributions by women in various developing nations across the world. We made the axes and we assigned them to variables called J and K, and then using the bar command plotted them as a bar graph to show the different GDP contributions by women in developing nations. Next, we used the mean command to find the average of the GDP contributions by women, and then use the plot command to plot this average on the graph, as you can see these red stars over here. The next slide shows us the output or the outcome of this code. If we see India's GDP contributions by women, it's comparatively low. The reason for this is because women or girls in India are usually denied the basic right of education. Our goal is to change this traditional idea or image of a woman.
This graph shows us the actual employment of men and women. Here, a variable Wm1 contains the employment of women, M1 contains the employment of men, and Y contains the years. Using the plot command, we plotted the years on the x-axis and the employment rate of both men and women on the y-axis. The red line here shows men, while the blue line there shows women. As you can easily infer from this graph, there's a huge gap in the employment of men and women. But in the year 2021, this gap has decreased a little. Our goal is to make this gap equal so that both men and women have equal employability opportunities.
This graph shows skill rate of men and women in the new age jobs. So in this graph, we compare the trends of skilled men, and the average. So in this graph, we plotted the line graph using the plot command. So as you can see here in the graph, women's skill rate is increasing day by day, and the productivity they are giving is innumerable times equal to men. So now let's take an example and let's compare the two trends. Let's take skilled women in 2018 and skilled women in 2021. So let's neglect the 2022 because it's the only data till February. So let's see. You can see a significant difference between both the trends, and that shows that women's skill rate is increasing day by day in the new age jobs. So I want to conclude this by saying that women learning skills about the new age jobs are helping them get decent work, to which it is helping them be self-sufficient and in turn help the economic growth of the country.
Our solution. After diving deep into our problem itself, our group has come to a thought to create an app called Avkash. Avkash, meaning opportunity in Sanskrit, allows women to link their Aadhaar data, including their nationality, their qualifications, and their skills according to their field to find accessible jobs. And they can find these accessible jobs anywhere near them, in their cities, and this can be as per their requirements. So they can work from home while they're raising their kids and training their family, or they can be in the physical setting of their office. Here are some key takeaways we took from this project. The first and the main key takeaway is how we process data into charts and graphs into MATLAB. Data is not just a chart or graph or even a number. Between each data set, there's a trend and story waiting to be told. We've also learned how to balance your schoolwork and this project by prioritizing this task. We'd also love to give a huge thank you to WeHub for not only inspiring us, but other women in this room for giving us the abilities and resources such as MATLAB to make this a huge success. We'd also love to thank the WiDS team, the MathLab team, our school management teams, our teacher mentors, Ms. Ratnamala ma'am and Ms. Vijay Lakshmi ma'am, for guiding us through every step.
These are the credits that show what each one contributed to this project.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Women's Day.
Guys, you can take those chairs.
I think that starts with a very great energy from the team and the fluency and the articulation. Can I request, first of all, from everybody, and now I hand it over to the jury. We have a mic on your table. Kindly ask questions. Can we request Team A to be back here? And the other Team A members also can join in. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Hi guys, nice presentation.
Thank you.
Well done. I have a very small question. Some of you have mentioned that data processing is very important step, and you have figured out important data out of your entire data set. I mean to say you picked up important variables for your workload, right? I just want to understand what is the process you have followed to do that job. Is my question clear?
Yes, ma'am. So over there, we have seen the table, we've gone through our data, and sometimes we saw the data was not useful or in some cases wasn't accurate. So in the code, we have taken out only those particular rows and columns having the accurate data, and we have used that to plot them in the graphs.
My question is how you come to conclusion that this is useful data and this is not useful data.
So a lot of the data, when we researched, we found that it wasn't accurate or it wasn't complete. So
how you come to that conclusion? On what grounds?
We had done some further research on that.
Ma'am, actually, we only took the few, actually the rows and columns. Actually, there's a lot of data which we found. So from that, we only took the few information which we need and which we actually, at the starting, we thought that we are going to make this graph. So according to that, we actually removed the irrelevant data which we didn't want, and then we only plotted the data, plotted the graphs with the data which we wanted, and the graphs what we want, the outcome. According to outcome, we just came to the conclusion that we didn't want the data.
I have a next question. So, I think first of all, it was a great presentation. I think very clearly you articulated the findings. The question is, with all the insights that you've gained, how do you see that this will help in achieving the goal that you set in the beginning, which is bridging the gap between the GDP contribution by men and women or the employability and
So as I've said in the beginning, our goal is to inspire the women. So when they realize that their contributions are, like they have the potential but their contributions are so less, somewhere we feel that women will be inspired to actually go and work. So also women have many skills as we have shown in the graphs. So we just want them to feel that the need to actually put these skills into work, because that will help in the overall growth of not only the world but even their personal growth also.
First of all, good presentation, great presentation. I have one very simple question. You guys come from different schools, right? So what is one thing which you learned as a team together? And it's not about data, it's about you working as a team.
So we learned how to time management. Like we had exams actually. Everyone had exams. So we learned, when to join and meetings. We learned actually time management, self-management, and prioritizing both at equal time. We stayed up, and actually we also stayed up nights for this because of our exams. We need to concentrate more. We can't, we just balance the both things. And also we learned data science, but you didn't, learn data science. And we learned how to teamwork, the most important thing. And each one learned we learned how to contribute, how to talk to each other, how to understand each other's mindsets, and collaborate with each other in a very disciplined manner.
Congratulations for putting up such an amazing presentation. And my question to you is, you must have gone through different platforms to collect the data. So, which ones do you think were, having most genuine, and what is the basis of checking that this is?
Yeah, so are you asking the sites that we thought were most genuine? Okay, so the sites like Statista and WiDS, as I said when I was presenting, were probably the most accurate and the ones that we didn't have to pre-process much because they had accurate data and it was relevant to what we were trying to get.
First of all, great confidence in presenting the whole thing, and you guys did a good job. I particularly don't have a question for you, but just want to congratulate you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, as all of them said, wonderful presentation. I was very, very impressed. We will ask three of you who have been spoken or answered. Now, what was your favorite part of the project? Yeah, what made you happy during the course of the project?
For me, it was the logo making and the PPT designs, because I understand that part. Yeah.
Okay, very nice.
For me, I think I enjoyed collaborating with other people to form one joint idea.
I like getting to know other people, their mindset, and
I personally like coding, so I enjoyed that the most.
I really like collaborating with all, not just from my own school, but from everyone from different schools around the city. I think that was one of my highlights of this experience.
I think just two of you left. You want to say what was your favorite part too?
I just like collaborating with a lot of different people and trying to understand how they thought and taking their ideas as well.
Yeah. What was your favorite?
I love the experience of this. I've learned so much, and even the coding, and as a person, I've grown a lot during this entire project.
Even for me, it's the same. And actually, for me, the thing I enjoyed a lot is discussing the problem statement at the first, because that is the first time we all collaborated after a lot many sessions given by VHub. So yeah, understanding each other's mentality, collaborating with and meeting different people. And actually, I am personally an extrovert, and actually it's the best thing I can. And throughout the journey, I enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you so much, Team A. I think the first ones always have a lot of questions, so I think you're done with that segment. Thank you so much. I request you to please sit in the first chairs. And now I request Team B to come on and set yourself. They are presenting on the topic inequalities in the workspace.
Hi, am I clear? Okay. My name is Suhasini, and these are my teammates Manasvi, Anushka, Srinana, and Sahiti. And our topic for today is inequalities in the workspace. We have taken inspiration from the 10th United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, and that is reduce inequality. I will mention some professions, and I want you guys to visualize them in either of these two. When I say the word nurse or teacher, I'm sure most of you would think it's supposed to be a woman. And if I say engineer or driver, I'm sure most of you would think they're supposed to be men. This clearly says that all our jobs and professions are stereotyped. And keeping this in mind, we formulated our problem statement. How has discrimination in workspaces affected our society, and how can it be reduced?
We have looked into multiple raw and generalized data sources, such as government websites, employer IDs, and CIS surveys. Next, we have refined our crucial data sources using formatting tool in Excel sheets and created variables in MATLAB to segregate our useful data on the basis of our three aspects. Next, we have pre-processed data sources. The most paramount part of our project is algorithm development. Our main aim was to derive key takeaways from our plotted data and identify the trends in the graphs. For plotting our data, we have loaded the Excel sheet into MATLAB using the function read table and created X and Y variables to segregate the useful columns and rows. We have generated interactive graphs using the functions bar and plot. At last, we have made the graphs more comprehensible by adding legends and labels to it. These graphs help us formulate and understand our problem statement better and find effective solutions to achieve an equitable workplace.
So to visualize and understand our problem statement better, we came up with 3 scenarios that describe different types of discriminations in the workspace. Our first scenario is of Amanda Ayar, a woman from Saudi Arabia. Throughout her life, she has faced immense amounts of discrimination in her workspaces in terms of wage gaps and so these are the employment rates that we have plotted in these graphs. So we can see from this graph that the employment rates on the basis of gender are way higher for men than for women. And although this pattern has been increasing throughout the years, we still have a lot of ground to make up for. These are the promotion rates based on gender, and there is a very obvious disparity that men get promoted way more than women.
The next case scenario is Spencer Amari. Spencer Amari is an African American who is residing in America. He is usually discriminated because of his last name and his skin color. Here we have a couple of graphs which deal with employment and promotion rates on the basis of race. Here we can see that employment rates are higher for white men instead of the other 3 races. And in the second graph we can see that white men are more promoted than the other 3. We also have a graph on wage gap. This wage gap information was taken from CIS surveys for salaries of heads of schools and was dealing with salaries of heads of schools across the world.
You can answer, what was the biggest challenge you faced in this project? Maybe technically or collaboration, like what was the biggest challenge? Anything that you can think of, Any of you?
Yeah, so I would honestly say it was collaboration. We had a lot of people in our group, maybe 15, and people just kept coming. And considering we had exams, collaborating was excessively difficult. Some people would be available at 7, others 6. It would be really hard to work it out. However, I'm not gonna lie, our first pitch was a complete mess. No one knew what was going on. But it's amazing to see how far we've come along the way, and I'm so proud of everyone in my group for presenting today so confidently and overcoming their personal insecurities.
So if we're done, I will thank you so much, Team B. Request you to take your seats. And Team C, I think both Team A and Team B have touched base on 2 integral parts of why we started off this project was collaboration. With MathWorks and WiDS from Stanford, we wanted these students to understand the importance of collaborating between different schools and teams. And the second point, I think also highlighted was how to manage time. It's always about prioritizing and taking the best of the opportunities created. Team C, welcome, and they are presenting on girls' education in rural India.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? So we are Group C, and today we are going to talk about girls' education in rural India. Various parts of the country collaborated in order to identify certain problems faced by society and provide effective solutions. So today, most girls attend school, but however, despite progress, women and girls continue to face multiple barriers in terms of gender and its intersection with other factors such as age, ethnicity, disability, and poverty, and things like that. So, in their equal enjoyment of their right to quality education, in rural areas, women are still expected to prioritize their household responsibilities over their education, which is something that really helped me reflect because it helped me realize how extremely privileged we are. And in rural areas, since we live in the urban sector, we don't really realize how behind rural India is. We hear about certain schemes from the government like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Andolan, but since we don't live there, we don't realize how behind it actually is. So can you take a guess on how far behind rural India is? Okay, so the urban female literacy rate is about 64%, but the rural female literacy rate is less than half of that, which is around 31%. So as you can observe, there's a huge rural-urban gap. There are certain countries like Finland that have very high literacy rates, like around 99.7%, which is why they're developing. Whereas countries like India, they're developing because our literacy rate is not consistent. It's not that girls don't want to study, it's just that they aren't getting the right environment and the access.
This is how we arrived to the problem statement. To what extent is there quality education for girls in rural India? And the reason this problem statement has many important impacts that would be created if we worked on it would be that women would have an increase in self-esteem and their knowledge and abilities. There would be reduced inequalities, and on top of that, educating a girl child will also impact the economy in a positive way.
The sources for data are plenty, and there is no shortage of numbers for what we can do to explore the world of data. We have come across many sources of data while we were working on this project, and they include surveys, articles, observations that we recorded from our surroundings, and even existing government databases. However, we decided to stick to data from already existing government census so that our models would be as accurate as possible with respect to our country in particular. We loaded the data on MATLAB, as you can see from the screenshots. The first section of code describes how we loaded the data and sorted it based on our preferences and how we made it more readable. The second section of code, as you can see, is how we plotted a bar graph based on the male and female literacy rates in India according to the data of 2011. We used the bar function as well as the plot function and gave it various values such as the X label, Y label, as well as the title, including the X and Y values themselves. This section of code particularly is one of my favorites, to be honest. We plotted a pan-average line so that we could differentiate between the states that had who was more than 50% literate and the states that were not as literate as the others. This is the graph that we came up with. As you can see, it is a graph about the literacy rate in males and females according to the data of 2011. The red bars represent the male literacy rate while the blue represents the female literacy rate, and we can observe that there is quite a huge gap, and this is why we're working to bridge it.
Students, we have the responsibility to give back to society so that we contribute to a better and developed nation. Keeping this and the poverty, access to technology factors in mind, we came up with two resources. One, a physical resource, a kit that includes various learning resources such as textbooks, stationeries, and others to help kids learn efficiently. Then an app to reach the kids who we cannot approach and they have the access to devices. Now coming to the implementation part, first we will be starting off with a talk on the importance of education for both children and parents. Then supplying the kits to children to create a happy and safe learning environment. Then also monitoring the learning process, conducting yearly tests and having student volunteers share knowledge on the weekends. Also, now coming to the app, we will be updating it regularly according to the government syllabus and include various versions in native languages.
Okay, so the impact of the solution. So through the solution, we'll be the change maker and improve the health and livelihood of women through literacy. And through this, we'll be tracking learning needs and progress to see their potential. And through the solution, we'll be providing access to learning resources like she mentioned, and we'll be giving them a chance to learn. This is morely targeting in the rural India. So key takeaways. We would first thank WeHub for this opportunity and thank thank them for connecting with MathLab and Women in Data Science. Through this whole process, we learned a lot about data science and especially data collecting and data analysis. We also learned coding. I'm pretty sure most of us didn't know coding, but this definitely helped us. And although we learned data collection in academic classes in our school, this definitely helped us target more of a big volume, and MathLab basically helped us interpret more information. So learning from the process, the challenges that we faced was obviously online environment, and we all were in different locations. But we solved these problems through discussing with our group and taking responsibility for our issues and always willing to contribute for our parts. And we made these decisions by always communicating with our group, discussing, and respecting each other's ideas and opinions. So we would like to end this presentation with a small message. If you educate a man, you educate an individual, but if you educate a woman, you have educated a nation. This is a very popular quote. I'm pretty sure all of you must know it. And with all of your support and help, we'd really be able to achieve this goal. And that would be a wonderful thing for rural India for girls. And here are the credits and all the work that all of us did to make this group come together. Here are citations for the research. And thank you, and happy Women's Day.
Thank you so much, Team C. Can I request you to take the dice? Can we have a question?
Again, great presentation. Thank you, team. You talked about some areas where the team, inside the teams have differences, right? Probably you can tell one area where maybe you guys differed, and then finally how did you reach a decision to make sure that the project moves forward?
Yeah, basically when we were discussing about the problem statement, one key issue was that not all of the teammates were in the call when we discussed about it. So when we were discussing about girls' education in rural India, we thought that we'd stick to one area, or so that the topic wouldn't be too vague. But then we decided that this was a problem that was accounting the society as a whole and not just one region. So that was one area where we had a difference of opinion.
Thank you so much, Team C. Can I request Team D to come onto the dais? And another request for the students. With your presentations, please be good audience too. Team D is going to talk about visual impairments.
I hope I'm audible. I'm Libby, and these are my friends, Sahiti, Hasini again, Rashi, Srijita, Srinita, and Amrita. We are Group D. Now, small request, can I ask everyone to close their eyes for a second? Now, imagine spending your entire life in the darkness that you're experiencing right now. You can open your eyes now, thank you very much. Now, don't you think it would be difficult to interact with your surroundings and perform the basic tasks that you do the way you do right now? No, I don't think so. Well, unfortunately, that is the everyday life of a person with visual impairments. Now, can we think of a famous personality who dealt with these difficulties? How about Helen Keller? She was both blind and deaf, and despite all the challenges that she faced, she was a successful author and political activist. She's an inspiring role model for differently abled kids around the world. By looking at her as a role model, we learned that no matter what anyone's physical abilities are, anyone can be successful, as long as they're provided the right amount of support and resources. We believe that even without sight, there's still a vision. over to sanity.
I do agree with Nidhi. Okay, well said. So we wanted to pitch this vision to you. We wanted to fulfill this version, thus we wanted to pitch this project to you. The topic we have chosen to deal with today is the provision for better facilities for students with visual impairment. We have drawn inspiration from United Nations Sustainable Goals 3 and 4. As you can see the data here, which is very disheartening, because 25% of special needs students only have access to facilities which are provided by their institutes, whereas 75% of special needs students do not have access. This is why we wanted to propose a few potential solutions.
So, through all the inspiration we gained and considering all the circumstances, we have come up with this problem statement. How do we make our learning environments more accessible for those who are visually impaired? So, in order to tackle this, we first must narrow down the challenges we might encounter in this process. First challenge, physical restrictions. For example, crowding. In schools, crowding is no such new thing. Blind people are often victims of being pushed around due to the lack of mobility, and so much more. This is a grave problem because they aren't aware of the surroundings. Which leads to my next point, lack of hand-holding support. We often ignore those who are disabled because of our inability to relate to them. This results in the lack of specialized teachers to come up and support those who are visually impaired. And being independent was never really a choice for the blind. Moving on, lastly, inclusiveness. We are installed with the mindset of the disabled never being part of our communities. Well, it's so much more harder in our schools because we are learning together. And this leads to people excluding those who are visually impaired and thus leading them to believe that they're never going to be part of our societies. Thankfully, through our courses, through MathLab and through data science, we have come up with an incredible solution that will help tackle this issue.
So the first step was data collection. So we've decided to use a very credible source of information, which is directly from the Government of India's website and the Department of School Education and Literacy Ministry of Education. So what we've decided to do is take quantitative data, and this was in the form of the number of student enrollment across different grades for students who are visually impaired, and an analysis of the number of available trained faculty for visually impaired students according to their grade groups. So the next step in our process was data pre-processing. So as you can see, the data set was very large and there was over 5,000 values. And there was also many different types of disabilities. But since we were looking at only people with visual impairments, we decided to refine our data to make it specific to these students and to the specialized teachers. And using the additional tool of MATLAB, we were able to process our data. So as you can see, this is the graph we came up with along with its code. So this is a graph for the student enrollment versus the number of trained teachers. And as you can see, there's an indirect proportionality between the two variables. As the grade levels are increasing, the number of enrollment is decreasing and the number of trained faculty is decreasing. And you can't even see the bar because that's how low this number is.
This cleaned and pre-processed data has helped us in drawing conclusions, making inferences, along with helping us in understanding the predictive models, which in turn served as a driving force to come up with an effective solution using the existing databases. Our experience with this data course has helped us in seeing the availability of open, free, and unused data, which can effectively be used for deriving a solution. Our solution is an app-based solution similar to Google Maps, except ours is for indoors and will help with inclusivity of visually impaired students. A little about this solution. Data science will be very necessary for developing this app, as we would give inputs from various areas of the school to create a map and provide live inputs to the user. The app would pinpoint the user's location when the user gives it its final destination and then proceed by giving audio instructions to the user.
So we hope to convey the importance of our project effectively so that it is understood what a useful and practical solution this could be.
So from this journey, we learned a lot about data science and that it's all around us. We learned how to collect, refine, and mold the data according to our requirements and use this molded data to arrive at conclusions and solve relevant problems. So our call to action is to maximize this product usage across all the schools in India so that students with visual impairment are all given an opportunity to use our product. So this program has also helped us and encouraged us and given us the confidence to impart our knowledge on data science to those from the underprivileged section of the society.
And that brings us to the end. I'd like to thank everyone for your time and attention. We really like to thank VHub for giving us this wonderful opportunity. We would also like to thank WiDS, MathWorks, our respective schools, teachers and mentors for making this a more fun and engaging experience. Thank you so much and happy Women's Day.
Thank you. And we would like to welcome Honorable Ms. Catherine Wan, the U.S. Vice Consulate General here. Can we have a round of applause for her? Thank you so much for joining us today. We are just winding up our fourth presentation here. From a question from the jury.
So you had identified a couple of problems, right? One was the connection. So how did you analyze that lack of people directing or helping the visually impaired people is a problem, right, from the data? Right? That's one thing. And the second problem you identified was the lack of teacher or skilled things. So how is your solution addressing that problem?
Yeah, so basically what our solution aims to do is to bring these specialized students into our already existing schools. So as you can see in our schools, like we already have a lot of trained faculty, and what this data allowed us to interpret is that more teachers need to be trained. So our schools, we have the resources and we can definitely train these teachers to help aid these visual impaired students.
In the first part, how did you get the data to figure out that the problem is that there is lack of people or they cannot navigate easily? Right? So how did you figure out from the data?
Okay, yeah, so from the data, we were able to see that, first of all, there's not many students who are, they don't have access to like the infrastructure and to get help. So basically what we did was research a few problems and kind of analyze our surroundings. Like, looking here, is there anyone with a visual impairment? No. So what we, how we arrived to that solution is just analyzing our daily lives and looking at what support these children with visual impairments might need, and how, like, as Hasni mentioned, she was talking about overcrowding, and handheld support is so important for people with visual impairments because obviously in our schools the hallways are narrow, there's a lot of overcrowding, so that's how we arrived to that solution.
Thank you so much. Around. Can we request Team E? And they have worked on the problem statement, uneven access to education in terms of gender. The students on that side, just to ensure you're not covering this.
Okay, hello everyone, good evening. Am I audible to all of you? Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Adya and this is Shreya, Akila, Manojna, Jashmita and Asmi, and we are from Oak Ridge, Keystone, Srinidhi, Chirek, and we also have a teammate in Kashmir, Hadia, from the Foundation World School. And we are here to present our solution, our problem statement today, uneven access to education in terms of gender. And instead of picking one sustainable development goal, we've actually picked two, because that is what our problem falls under: quality education and gender equality.
So why is this project so important to address? Currently in India, there's a big disparity in access to education between males and females. And as we all know, education is a basic human right. and is crucial to the growth and development of a country. According to statistics from 2021, while male literacy rate is 84%, females is only 70%, showing a big gap. So introducing the education gap. As you can see on the graph on the screen, in the past decades, there has consistently been a gap between female and male enrollment, and this gap has barely decreased in size.
So how did we perform our data analysis? So we referred several sources such as government documents, newspaper articles, and even research papers. So from this we gathered a lot of data, but then we decided to compare some factors, such as the number of girls enrolled in schools compared to the number of boys, the number of women employed compared to the number of men, and the income of countries with more women employed when compared to the countries with only like men majorly employed. So as you can see here, one of the government resources that we used.
Okay, so now we come to data collection. And we focus on multiple sources since we have to gather a lot of data for our upcoming graphs. But these are the three main sources that we focused on. So first was the Sustainable Development Goals for India, and we used this to gather data on access to sanitation resources. So the amount of toilets in schools with girls and the amount of toilets in schools with boys. Now, why did we do this? It's because sanitation is actually a huge factor when it comes to why girls can't attend school. Because due to lack of adequate resources, the enrollment of girls in school from primary to secondary has actually dropped by 40% as an average in all states in rural areas. We also focused on UN articles and UNICEF articles to gather general information on literacy rates so that we actually have an idea about the whole picture and how big this issue is.
Okay, so like Adya said, once we had this data and once we collected it, we needed to be able to actually put it to use in terms of our project. So here's where we had to pre-process it. And we came across some redundant data, some blank data. There was data that was repeated. So when we came across things like that, we had to make sure we defined the data so we were able to analyze it and apply it to our project.
So next on how we plotted our data onto MATLAB. So the following code is what we use to get to our graphs. We use a box chart and a bar graph. Firstly, we looked at the percentage of girls that stayed in school going from primary to secondary. So, and the percentage of schools with good sanitation resources. So as you can see, with the states that have a higher percentage of schools with good sanitation have a higher percentage of girls that stayed back in school going from primary to secondary. For example, if we take Lakshadweep, it has 100% percentage of girls, percentage of schools that have good sanitation. So in turn, it has like 90% of girls that stayed in school. Nextly, if we look at Meghalaya, it only has about 70% percentage of schools with good sanitation. In turn, its percentage of girls dropped to like 50%. So taking all this into account, we have looked at the ratio of female to male employment rate. Because of this uneven access to education, the employment rate is very uneven, the target being 1, and overall India is actually 0.33, and each state is like about 0.2, 0.4. So we have to really work on lowering this gap.
Okay, so now we present to you Project Taluni. We focused on the education gap. We focused on employment rates, and we've shown a lot of data that ultimately leads to our final solution. So our clear-cut solution is to provide an app with data that will actually help NGOs fund these government schools so that they can provide adequate resources for sanitation, because as we mentioned, sanitation is a huge issue when it comes to girls getting education.
Okay, so here's where algorithm development comes in, and we all know that it's just a series of steps that you come up with so that you can get to your final solution. And in our case, we're coming up with the app, Project Taluni, and we used algorithm development here while coming up with the layout of the app,
or details that the customer would have to input in terms of obtaining the data from the app.
Okay, so when it comes to deployment and recommending our solution, we have the solution itself, the purpose, and our target. So basically what our plan is, this app will take a lot of secondary data that's already available on a lot of reputable sites, and it'll condense them and it'll structure them so that it's available for NGOs. Say for example, you're owning an NGO, right? You log on to this app, you enter the credentials, like this is my institute, this is the password, everything. You log on, and then you enter exactly how many sanitation resources you need, or whether you need better infrastructure. So then the NGO can log on and be like, okay, this government institute in Telangana needs these many packets by this date. So everything will be easily available and accessible to anyone who wants to see. And they can also use it to provide funds, like they need this much for this amount of infrastructure in these many days. So the purpose of this being easily accessible and structured is because then it'll actually reach these NGOs. It's not something we're just saying. It'll actually be there and it'll be faster. And our target is to target NGOs all over the country so that they're aware of what's going on in these rural areas. So now you understood the idea of our app. I want you all to take a minute, close your eyes. Okay. So this seems like a pretty simple, clear-cut solution. Imagine a woman living in a rural village in India. She has 3 daughters. The first one, she couldn't make it through high school. She dropped out in, let's say, 10th grade. This is because she didn't have adequate sanitation resources. By the time the second one was at the same age, this app was launched, and it had impacted some lives. And then she could make it through high school. The third actually has become an English professor. You can see that this app, it not only provides information that can help one life, it can actually bridge a generational gap if this is actually implemented. It can have so many branches. After the sanitation part, it can have features on it that will actually help with curriculums in rural schools, so help with the education parts of the problem and the actual learning. So this will have the power to impact lives. India's population is massive, so it has the potential to impact millions of girls everywhere.
Now, coming to the key takeaways. Throughout this whole journey, there were so many key takeaways. The first of which is obviously the information we gathered from this data itself. We were able to identify that gender equality is in fact a major issue in India, and also identify its main root cause and how we can create a solution to this issue by providing more sanitation equipment and helping girls in rural schools. Another key takeaway was our changed view on data science. Previously to this, we were like, okay, data science is something, it's a very specific field. But now we've come to a conclusion that data science is actually everywhere in everything we do. Everything includes data, and it is something that will gradually emerge very quickly in our upcoming future. Understanding data science and applying it to solve real-world problems is very important.
So like Shreya said, data science can be applied in multiple fields, which is something that I personally wanted to learn when I entered this program. Like, I actually want to pursue law in the future, but I'm also interested in seeing how it ties to education, which is why we picked something with quality education and gender equality, and actually managed to use a state-by-state comparison to show how it can impact society. And we also have collaboration. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have teammates in Kashmir as well, and all of us, I think only 2 were in the same school. We're all from different schools. So at first, the meetings and everything, it was a little difficult to coordinate, but we soon managed to come to a good solution to actually present something that's viable to this issue. We would also like to thank the 3 main teachers that helped us with this problem, Kritika ma'am, Hafiza ma'am, and Swapna ma'am, and also the MathWorks team, the WiDS team, the WeHave team, and the heads of schools, and everyone else that supported us during this project. And happy Women's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And we'll quickly have a question from the jury.
interesting topic. I'm sure all of us will agree to. So you spoke about that there's a gap in education between considering genders, and also employment gap between genders is more. So which gap do you think is much higher? Is it that people getting education is the gap there is more, or people who are getting employed? And the second question would be, what do you mean by Taluni? So if you can explain that.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, I forgot to mention that. So we picked Project Taluni because Taluni actually means woman in Sanskrit.
Yeah, so I think they're both very interrelated. As you if women get more education, they can in turn apply for more jobs. I think there's obviously different factors that come into consideration when it comes to employment as a separate spectrum, such as discrimination towards women. And I think initially what we're mainly targeting is education, as this is where it all starts from, and we see a major gap here. And we feel like if we close the gap here firstly, then it would close the gap in employment as well.
So do you also have a data where people who are getting leaving education in the middle is because of the sanitation issues?
Yeah, so the data we showed actually is the percentage of girls that are staying in school from primary to secondary. And in schools where there is less sanitation equipment, the percentage of girls staying in school from primary to secondary is decreasing. And secondary school is obviously where sanitation needs come into play majorly.
Could you go back to the slide with the state-by-state comparison, please? Oh, okay. Well, I don't think it's here, but basically we had a blue bar, and that showed the number of girls actually staying in school, and a red bar with number of access to sanitation resources. So we put that there specifically on the graph so that everyone could see how both correlated.
Yeah, and when we plotted the two, there was a direct correlation in the trend between both the factors.
Thank you so much. Can we request the next team to come on to dais? Team F. We would also like to welcome Mr. Srinivas Kulkarni, the Group President of Startup Ventures at Salesforce, and also the first T-Hub CEO as well. Can we have a round of applause to him? Thank you so much. And we'll stick to the 5 minutes time. And picked up an interesting topic of innovation versus pollution. Please go ahead.
Before I start, I would like to take a quick look around the room. Here left, then here right. There are around 100 to 150 people in this room, but this seemingly large number is nothing compared to the 1 billion people in India who will suffer from conditions related to air pollution at least once in their lifetime. There are 1.4 billion people residing in India, and all of these people are exposed to harmful pollutants in the air on a day-to-day basis. These aren't just simple statistics. They're our harsh reality, and this reality could be way worse if we don't do something about it now. Hi everyone, we're UPath, Innovation versus Pollution, and we've actually incorporated not one, but 2 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals into our project. The first one is climate action, and the second one is good health and well-being. In our presentation today, we will guide you through the journey and the ideas that we have come up with to battle a problem that has, surprisingly, been taking the lives of millions of people across India.
Well, there are several problems associated with air pollution. Some of the diseases that cause health problems include pulmonary cancer, leukemia, and various other cardiovascular diseases. Some simpler ones include common cold and eye allergies. Well, estimated by the WHO, imply that 1 out of every 8 deaths in the world is caused due to problems associated with air pollution. As of 2019, India ranks 3rd in the world in terms of the AQI levels.
Knowing these consequences led us to investigate the effects of air pollution on the respiratory system of the people residing in the urban areas in India from 2011 to 2020 with the help of data science.
So an essential part of solving our problem was organizing our data analytics work. So our first step was collecting information. So we went to various websites for information on our problem, and we came up with many outcomes. The second step is pre-processing. So we stored all our raw data and started to pre-process it by excluding unnecessary information. Our third step is predicting various models. So to confirm our findings, we went through various sources of data and started to brainstorm solutions to our problem. And our last step is plotting ideas and solutions. So based on our confirmed findings, we started to plot graphs. But what exactly are these solutions and how did we reach our conclusions?
Progress leads to pollution. In March 2020, as COVID cases started rising, a lockdown was enforced all over India. But the air pollution levels plummeted due to the inactivity of factories and transport. Major cities that suffer from air pollution had seen reductions of deadly particulate matter in the air by up to 60% from the previous year, in a period of just 3 weeks. Meanwhile, from the years 2011 to 2019, there was a drastic increase in pollution levels.
Before we continue, I would like to mention AQI. AQI is Air Quality Index. The higher the AQI levels, the higher the air pollution. In the displayed image, you can see the different ranges of AQI and how they are measured. So now we will be showing you a few graphs based on the air quality. So this graph represents the India's air quality in the year 2020. As we can see, there's only one green dot present here, which represents only one place with good air quality. So we need to progress in this sector. This is the second graph, which shows the air quality of India from the years 2015 to 2020. To understand this better, let's take a look at the other graphs. So this is the other graph, which shows the air quality index in Delhi. Something strange way to notice here is that at the starting of the year, as you can see, that the air quality is severe, very poor and poor. And when it comes to the middle of the year, it gets better and better. This is because during the winter, the cold air is dense and thus it traps pollution easily. In the third graph, we can see the air quality of Bangalore. Here, there are many good days rather than the poor, severe and very poor. So we can say that Bangalore has a better air quality index than that of Delhi. This is the distribution of AQI in Delhi. So we can see that everything is there except for the good column, it's empty. So this is from 2018 to 2020. So we can see that in this data we have no good days. So we need to improve a lot in this, despite the slogan, Acha time aayega.
So using the data and graphs that we got throughout this project, we came up with 3 main solutions. So we all know the basic solutions for air pollution, like for example carpooling or recycling. But for our project to be more impactful, we use solutions which also in the long term would be impactful.
So firstly, we have city tree benches, which are essentially plants, 4-meter high plants, okay. So the first solution is city tree benches, which essentially are 4-meter high long plants covered in moss, which essentially filter out air pollutants and also have sensors that collect data on air pollution in their surroundings. Second, we have gas sensors, which are inserted in our smartphones and which collect and display data on air pollution and are especially convenient for the people suffering from breathing problems, as it would assist them in knowing which places are polluted and that could harm their health. Third, we have titanium dioxide, which is used in construction. This, as you can see, titanium dioxide, it basically forms a mesh-like structure around its buildings and has been already implemented in countries such as USA and Philippines. And this material does not degrade or does not degrade or get consumed, making it a low conservation solution and also cost-effective.
And for the key takeaways, we have learned many things from this project. For example, we have learned how to plot and process data using MATLAB, and we have gone through various websites to find information and especially learned how to work as a team. And data is everywhere. No matter what route you decide to take, it will always be involved. And as this field advances, it is more evident that it will be our future. Don't you already see that it is on its way to shape our future? Yes. Exactly. And learning how to use it to our advantage is a skill that we have learned through this project.
Before we conclude, I would like to take this opportunity to thank WeHub, Women in Data Science, and MathWorks. I would also like to thank everyone who gave us lectures during our sessions and made them extremely engaging. This made me want to learn more about data science. Now, I hope that this program also influences more women to go into the field of data science. I myself will be looking at it as a career choice. So to conclude, I would like to quote Atul Butte, a biomedical informatics researcher. He said, "Hiding behind these mounds of data is the knowledge that could save or change the life of a patient, and also change the world. And we wish to change the world." Thank you.
Also, happy Women's Day.
Thank you so much. I request Team F to align. Any questions from the jury? Yes, please.
A great presentation. I'm told there's a very young person on your team, and like someone who is probably from a different class. Or, yeah. Okay. What classes? What class is it?
8, 9, and 11.
Okay. So maybe the 8th standard person. Like, what was your biggest takeaway? What would you take back to your school? You know, like, what would you tell your friends about that? About this experience?
I could tell them a lot. So one of the main things would be that I got to work with so many people and see their insights on data science, the field, and being able to also work on an amazing project like this.
Okay. And what would you do differently next time? If you were to come back to do a similar project, what would you do based on the learnings from, what you had this first time?
I think we've done a lot. I think this amazing team, we've done a lot. But what we could do more is, from learning from our mistakes, we could probably look into more data sources, make more graphs, and just whatever we've done, just amplify it to the next level.
Very nice. Great job. Very good.
Thank you so much. Now I request Team G to align yourself, and also welcome Mr. Jayesh Ranjan sir, the Principal Secretary of IT&C Department, who's taken his time out, his busy schedule, to see your presentation and also encourage you. Thank you so much. They've chosen the topic quality education.
Good evening, everyone, and I would like to thank you all for this opportunity to discuss the topic quality education. Now let me introduce my dynamic team. Varanya, Tanya, Ananya, Supraja, and Adita, who unfortunately could not join us today. And of course, who could forget our amazing teacher mentors, who guided us every step of this wonderful journey. Mr. Praveen, Ms. Deepthi, and Ms. Kritika.
Now I have a small poem and hope you all enjoy. For some, a privilege, for others, a right. For some, a burden, for others, it's life. Books and books, is that the only way to learn? Well, I don't think so. A day always gives something in return. There are many who need it, so for their right they fight. After all, it's an essential path from darkness to light. There may be a school with teachers who are cool, but is that all you need for a life where you can succeed?
This is our flow of topics. We have 6 of them.
We chose quality education as our topic, but to understand our topic better, we need to understand why quality education is important. So let me paint you a picture. You wake up early in the morning and go to school. You have around 50 other classmates and only one teacher, so you barely get any one-on-one time to clear it out. And the school has barely any teachers because you know that teachers are paid insanely less. Don't we need to address this problem? Don't we need to make sure that every citizen in our country gets a quality education? We may be the future, but why not make a change now?
Well, as Ananya just said, quality education is very important. That's why UNESCO has defined it as a human right. But how exactly does teacher-to-student ratio affect quality education? Well, there's the inadequate learning space, the lack of funds, under-trained teachers, and students don't get as much time with teachers as they need. Okay. Well, I already told you all these points, so let's go to the next topic.
Data collection. So we've collected the data of the teacher to student ratio. So we've created a form to collect the actual data. We've gathered the information of the number of students across all educational levels and also the number of teachers who are assigned in each grade level. We've also collected the total number of students and teachers all over India through various resources online. And for data reprocessing, we've compiled and processed our collected data to obtain information on the total number of students and teachers in all educational levels.
Now on to loading and plotting in MATLAB. After researching and scouring the internet for a long time and using forms to obtain some information, we decided to plot them in MATLAB. After loading our information into MATLAB with only a few lines of code, we made a few bar charts and pie charts to compare and analyze our data. We understood that we can divide our information into three sectors: government schools, government-aided schools, and private schools. Data analysis. After making these pie charts and bar charts, we need to compare and analyze our data to see the best possible outcome. First, the pie charts. You can see the number of teachers and number of students. For the number of students, you can see majority of the students study in government schools, some in private and very few in government-aided schools. However, when we move on to the number of teachers, just a little over half of the teachers are in government schools, many in private and a few in government-aided schools. If we compare the two, we understand that we need to make sure that because there's so many students in government schools, there needs to be a good ratio with the number of teachers. However, there are few teachers in government schools, so we understand that this is our problem. This is a comparison for the student and teacher ratio in government schools, government-aided, and private schools. The desired ratio is 25 students to 1 teacher. However, in government schools, it's 43 to 44 students to 1 teacher. Government-aided schools and private schools, however, have maintained the ratio pretty well. But we need to make sure that, is anyone doing anything to solve this problem? So we looked back and we saw from 2018 to 2021, how many students and how many teachers are being employed. For every 1 teacher, almost 35 students are joining schools. But this is not enough. It has to be 25 students to 1 teacher. So how do we come up with a solution?
Deploying the findings. So depending on the information we got from plotting and graphs, we deploying in our graphs, we can see that India takes a lot of funds into schools, but not into recruiting teachers. So we can increase the salary of teachers by seeing the achievement of the students they are teaching.
Insights and key takeaways. How does the teacher-to-student ratio impact schools? Well, what would happen if we add more teachers to schools? Well, first of all, it would help gain more attention from students and let students each have more personalized attention of their own. It would help smooth interactions among the class, and it would be easier to maintain the children. It would also reduce school dropouts. Now you may be wondering, how does data science help? Data and algorithms can be used to predict whether a student will drop out or not. It can also help the governments find out the number of teachers in a given school. All in all, it can improve the education system as a whole.
These are our credits and what we did. Now we would like to say thank you to MATLAB for creating this.
We'd like to thank MATLAB for giving us such a unique coding experience.
WiDS for designing such an amazing curriculum.
We'd also like to thank our schools, teachers, and mentors for guiding us and giving us this amazing opportunity.
And of course, who can forget VHub, who gave us all here an amazing opportunity. Thank you, and happy Women's Day.
Thank you so much, and I think we'll have the last question for the day from the jury.
Since the mic is with me, a great presentation. What was the one big challenge which you had while working on this?
I think, as a lot of other teams said, we're going through exams, so time management was a really big issue. But I think what we were able to do is we divided our work into different sections. So whenever anyone had the time, they would finish their work. So if anyone was free, and anytime everyone was free, we would call and we'd go through the PPT or the presentation, and we'd work on things to improve, and again split the work and get through everything.
Great, I learned something today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I get that the schedule is tight, and could we just need 1 minute, because now we have observed something and we would like to make a proposal to all of you here.
So, good evening everyone. I'm Ashrita. Good evening, sir. So here, we are talking of today's Women's Day. We are talking about a lot of women empowerment and everything. So we want to talk about the most important thing, that is Indian government. There is a bill about the women reservation for 33%, and which is not passed from the 2010, and this is 12 years till now. So we want to ask you a question, sir. What do you think is the hurdle in your point of view that this bill is not passing from 12 years? And the most important thing is when women stand, when two women, when they get after 33% of reservation. So if two women stand, so one of the one is going to win. If two women stand against each other, one is going to win. So that is going to, help in the women empowerment. As when women, be in the parliament, she also, tries for getting rights for women. So, and that also builds women empowerment. So what do you think is the hurdle, sir, that this bill is not passing for 12 years? So we just want to know, in your point of view, what is the hurdle?
Take your seats. So, want a long answer or a short answer? So, short answer is that it is not getting passed because of the men. There is a longer answer, and some part of the answer I support. So, for example, the Bahujan Samaj Party, it's a very important party in UP. Their stand is that within that 33%, there should be sub-reservations. So some of these women must be Dalit, some of the women must be from the backward communities, and so on and so forth. So there's no consensus on that. But broadly speaking, we have reservations. So you're talking about the parliament seats, where this bill is being debated and discussed and delayed. No, but there are other forms for 2-3 decades. So for example, there are panchayats. See, every state has much more education. So all these women who get elected to represent the panchayats, etc., we need to train them better. They also need to get that sense of confidence that I am the woman panchayat. But at the same time, there are lots of amazing success stories also. There are lots of women sarpanches who have done exceedingly well, and not only have they cared for the rest of the women, they have cared for the society. So mixed experience. So reservation, in my opinion, is not going to is not going to be the magic bullet. I mean, we need to do much more homework, much more preparatory work. But nevertheless, glad that you are taking interest in this particular issue.
So actually you also talked about the training that we need to give for women. So how do you think that is going to start, sir? That they're not, I mean, it's not possible that they're trying themselves personally also, right? So do you think government should start training women in that?
No, we should. And I think WeHub also is planning things on the same lines. See, first of all these women who get elected as panchayat representatives, panchayat leaders, they need to be brought together. So first of all, they will realize that there are so many of them. So they won't feel that I'm an oddity, I've been suddenly thrown in the spotlight, and I'm a shy person, I don't have self-confidence, let me recede in the background, let my husband represent me. So when they see a room full of women, that itself will give them lots of confidence that it's a community of women. And then you need to train them the way you are trained in school. There are subjects, you train them in management, basic management skills, train them into accounts, bookkeeping, train them into human resources management, also train them about the sociology of a panchayat. See, every panchayat, every village for that matter, is not a homogeneous entity. There are rich people, there are poor people, then there are poorest of the poor people. So if you are a concerned sarpanch, the panchayat head, you should worry, your clarity should start from there. You are not for the rich people. They'll take care of themselves. So how do you understand what are the priority needs of the poorest of the poor? So these kind of trainings. I mean, there are institutions who do it, but it's not a one-off thing. You have to do it again and again, and also give them lots of moral support. But I guess you are working with women sarpanches also.
Yes, sir. We started working with women sarpanches, and as sir pointed out, there is a lot of long-term outlook and a lot of long-term vision that needs to be there before we start anything. And that is something, that is the reason we are all here today. And I just heard from our team that the pitching went very well. Did it go well? Yeah? For a change, I'd like to hear from the principals and the faculty. How did the pitching go?
Absolutely great.
Yeah? Awesome. Thank you so much everyone for being here. Thank you JS sir. Sir, this is your 6th event? Fourth and one more to go, event of the day. In spite of that, with only half an hour of a time difference between his past event and the next event, sir had made time to visit us. And Ms. Catherine, thank you so much for joining us. Ma'am, she's the Vice Consul of the US Consulate. Yes. And Srini, thank you so much. I was at an event yesterday and I kind of like forced him to be the guest for today. But Srini brings a lot of experience as the first CEO of T-Hub. And he now is also the group president for Startup Ventures. So he brings a lot of experience. So we are really thrilled to be joined by amazing friends and people who all believe in the thing that we are doing today, which is Girls in STEM. So because I don't know how many of you are familiar, this event was conceptualized yesterday at 1 p.m. Please let that sink in. So this was conceptualized at 1 p.m. yesterday, and in spite of the paucity of time, we are so happy to have Nitin from Qualcomm join us, Sanjay and Viju from MathWorks join us from Bangalore. Spandana and Navashika have been working with the girls for the past 3 days, actually 8 hours a day, working on the pitches. Faculty have been here, and I'm sorry to say this, but we have looked like a frat house almost, with pizza everywhere and water bottles thrown everywhere. But in spite of that, it is a very enjoyable experience. So thank you so much for making it happen. I'll take 2 minutes to introduce what we are trying to do here. So as you all are aware, we are at WeHub, and WeHub primarily works on enabling women entrepreneurs. And one of the biggest challenges that we always hear is that there is too few women entrepreneurs, right? We all hear that. The second thing that we hear is that even among those women entrepreneurs, there are few women tech entrepreneurs. And when we started working on this over the past 4 years, we realized that we did not create a funnel or a pipeline of girls who wanted to become, who wanted to be more well-versed in science. I will not say engineers or anything else at all. There was no pipeline of girls who actually were interested in STEM. And that is why it took us about 3 years to conceptualize our first Girls in STEM activity at VHub, but we made sure that we worked with the right partners, we had the right people and the right kind of team, Ramya, Devi and the entire team, who were very focused and committed to the thing that we were trying to do. So that is why it took us about 3 years, and this is the first time we are doing something on girls in STEM. So our partner in this endeavor, the first topic we chose is data science. Our partner in this endeavor is Stanford University, the Women in Data Science initiative of the Stanford University. Obviously, they had a brilliant curriculum, right? The curriculum was great, it was all delivered, it was all ready. But then we realized one thing, teaching kids something is great, right? But it's only classroom lectures. So we thought, why don't we make it a little bit more interactive? Let them understand how to visualize what they are learning. And that's when I remembered MATLAB and MathWorks. So I was telling the kids already, sir, the first time I actually used MATLAB was when I was actually 22 in the US, when I was an RA for teaching the course on MATLAB. So I never used MATLAB when I was in engineering. So I was learning 1 week before I was supposed to teach the class. So that is when I learned, but it actually opened up my world. It opened up my understanding of how to understand so many concepts. So that is when we actually reached out to MathWorks, and they were really kind to actually work with us, because they do not work with kids below undergrad. They only work with engineering colleges. They do not work with students in high school. But in spite of that, thank you so much Viju, Spandana, Devarpita, Sanjay, and the entire team of MathWorks, awake of course, for working with us and making sure that this happened. And the third thing, again, we had the curriculum, we had MathWorks. We also worked with a lot of data scientists across the world. Many of them were women. The reason I say this is because we wanted this curriculum to be delivered by people who are already practicing it, right? So we made an active effort to reach out to many, many data scientists across the world who happened to be women. We were not looking for women data scientists. And lucky for us, we found a lot of data scientists who were women, and we wanted to showcase that when somebody is delivering a session, they are practitioners themselves. So the girls actually could hear from people who are actually doing this, and they could find their role models. That was the third thing. And last and most important, and I would like all the girls to actually put their hands together, sir, everybody as well. And a lot of kudos to the principals of these schools that have actually partnered with us. So we hear when we talk about international schools, they are so rigid, they are, I'm so sorry to use this word, they are so fighty-toity. We heard that, okay, I never knew that, but we heard that, okay, we heard that. Because I went to a St. Anne's school, okay, I went to a convent school. I never went to an IB curriculum. But when we reached out to Sri Rashmi, when we worked with Srinidhi, when we worked with Shirek, when we worked with Oak Ridge, all we got was just support and let's get it done. And that is something which is so important for teachers, right, for academicians, for faculty who want to make sure that they bring the best of the world to their students. So we are so thrilled to partner with you. And we had discussed this before. So girls, I don't know if you're familiar. So we are starting this first ever initiative of Girls in STEM with you guys from international schools who have the resources in the world at your hands. Do you know why we are doing this? The reason is we wanted to make sure all of us together can brute test the curriculum that we are creating. The reason is if we brute test the curriculum with all of you who have all the resources in the world, we can then democratize this information. We can make sure a lot of kids who would not have access to the kind of knowledge or the curriculum that we have, they also can learn. And we can actually, VHub can be prepared with the resources that are needed to make sure that we can bring it to so many kids who may not have access to the tools that you have. So this is the reason we are starting with you, and thank you so much for being the first girls in STEM who are actually graduating from the VHub program. Thank you so much for that. And last and most important, Qualcomm and Nitin. Nitin is he's a big supporter of Girls in STEM. They do a lot of activity here. We called him at 8:30 last night and we told him you have to come judge. And you know, 8:31 he said, of course, why not? So you have to understand that there's an entire ecosystem who's behind you guys. So you need to make sure, I don't expect all of you to become engineers. Please don't become engineers. The goal is to enjoy science. So please enjoy science. Please make sure that you become ambassadors for the next cohort of students who will come forward. And I really hope that all of you had a lot of fun. And again, I'm going to trouble you a little bit more. So the reason why we are all here today is because of 3 people. First is actually Ramya. Ramya, please come. So Ramya, she actually moved from Hyderabad to Warangal, and in spite of the COVID on or whatever else, she made sure that she persisted. She actually made sure that the program actually happened. So thank you so much. 8 weeks, she made sure that every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, even before I woke up, sometimes my daughter was already on the sessions. So imagine, like, she was so dedicated. Thank you, Ramya. Next is Sridevi. Please stay here. So Sridevi was guiding and helping Ramya in making sure that this was a program which worked for everybody, and this could actually be scaled up to hundreds and thousands of students. So thank you, Sridevi. And last and most important is the faculty of the schools itself. Can I invite all of you once? I know it's sounding like a vote of thanks, but please. So to explain, this faculty, actually they all came, so this is not the first time. They've worked with us for over 3 days, right? They worked with us 3 days to understand and go through each and every piece of the curriculum. They all worked in groups together. They all understood what the curriculum is, and they became our ambassadors. We didn't have to actually force the students anything. The teachers actually taught us how to deliver the curriculum better. So all of you, please put your hand together for Thank you. Oh, there are teachers virtually. Where are they? They are watching on YouTube apparently. So thank you to everyone. Anyway, with my very long, short introduction speech, this is the reason why we are doing it today at WeHub on International Women's Day. It's also our 4th anniversary. We are really thrilled that all of you could join us. And none of this is ever possible because we try so many things. We do it only because we have JS sir with us. And sir is very indulgent of everything that we do at WeHub. He corrects us whenever we make some mistakes, but he makes sure that we actually start a task and complete it with a great outcome. So thank you so much, sir, for being here today. And if we could request you to speak a few words. No, the agenda says. Sir, you were in a rush. Is that okay? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Deepti, and we also congratulate all of you for completing this program so successfully. I got 2 of the presentations, and they were very impressive, with lots of depth, lots of clarity. So I'm sure the remaining presentations were also equally impressive, and heartiest congratulations. So just to add to what Deepti mentioned, the reason, see, all of you would know that WeHub was preceded by T-Hub. WeHub is 4 years old, T-Hub is 6 years old. And after 2 years of running T-Hub, we also recognize this, that very few women are coming to T-Hub to participate in innovation programs, incubation programs, and so on and so forth, which is not surprising. In fact, I was speaking earlier in the day in a Women's Day event, where he quoted some statistic, and people really were surprised at that statistic. So that statistic is like this, that in India today, in all the states, there is no exception at all, the school enrollment is either 50% each, 50% boys, 50% girls, or there are more girls than boys in some states. In no state are there more boys than girls in class 1 when the schooling begins. And then later on, if you track, and let us say there is one indicator that how many CEOs are headed, are women, how many women CEOs are there. So if at the beginning it's all 50-50, what would you expect at the end? Suppose I have to ask how many women CEOs are there. The logical answer will be 50 each. I mean, there will be 50% women CEOs and 50% men CEOs. But do you know what is the data for India? Or what can you guess? Danish, you work for Newsweek. What is your guess? So the data is 3%. So what happened to the remaining 47%? Where did they fall on the way? So obviously so many barriers, so many challenges, many of them have been pushed out, and so on and so forth. So that is how this idea came, that while T-Hub is a great place, it does not discriminate in any way between a women-led startup or a men-led startup, but there are some kind of subconscious signals that maybe women are not welcome there, or it's not, the community feeling amongst women is not there. And then this idea came that let us see if setting up an an incubator and an innovation space only for women, does it help? And therefore we started this institution 4 years ago. And as you would have understood by now, they have achieved tremendous results. The initial 4 years have been absolutely wonderful, way beyond our expectations. And therefore, we want to do more programs. And I'm very happy that now what she said is also very correct. Both in T-Hub as well as V-Hub, we are very conscious of the fact that while we are spending so much of money, you must have seen T-Hub building. There is a new building coming up, which is also pretty fancy. We are spending hundreds of crores of rupees to construct those buildings. But where is the pipeline? I mean, there has to be a regular pipeline of people who will eventually occupy those spaces, come up with some very innovative products, solutions, etc. And that is how this idea that start running incubation programs, innovation programs for, we started with college students because in the US in particular, we are noticing this trend as well, that startup founders are becoming younger and younger and younger. In fact, many of them eventually drop out of college because they are so passionate about their idea. And obviously, all of you would know the poster boys of our tech world today, people like Mark Zuckerberg or even Steve Jobs for that matter. Even he quit Stanford midway and then worked on his dream. Even Bill Gates for that matter. None of them could finish college. They were admitted in the best institutions. They went to Harvard, they went to Stanford, but they felt that what they were thinking about was much more important than getting that Harvard degree or Stanford degree. And today we know what kind of transformation they have brought to the world. So we started focusing on colleges, but then this realization that we need to go even younger. There are lots of amazing, talented children in the schools as well. So this is one such attempt, and as I said, I'm very happy that it has worked so well. But as Deepti said, this was just kind of a pilot. There are so many other schools also, and we wanted to check out how it will work, what kind of response will we get, will the faculty be supportive, will the school management be responsive to this request. But I'm glad that everything has worked out well, and it gives us lots of courage to try it out in a mass kind of a way. Particularly, as you know, while all of you are enjoying the best possible education, there are hundreds of government schools also where the quality of education is not really the best. And these kind of interventions can make much more difference there. Because the kind of stuff that you learned here, of course, not to say that it was not new or interesting, but even if we had not organized this program for you, you would have picked it up somewhere or the other by yourself, since you are exposed to online content and so on and so forth. But for a government school child, it is very difficult unless we kind of lead him into these kind of exercises. So that, as I said, gives us lots of hope and optimism that this can be done in a bigger scale also. And I'd also like to thank all the people, all the institutions who are behind this initiative, particularly MathWorks and MATLAB and Stanford, WiDS, isn't it? Yes, WiDS. And I'm happy that it has attracted the attention of the consulate. I'm sure you will also do your bit in making it more affordable and more popular once we have to take it to masses. I mean, I guess there will be an issue of the commercial terms, etc. So look forward to, please stay engaged and connected with VHub. This is just a sample of what goes on here. But as a school student, I just learned that some of you are in grade 8th and all that. So you still have a few more years of schooling left. So use all these skills in regular problem solving, identifying other kinds of pressing problems which can also be solved using data, using evidence, and feel free to reach out to VHub again and again and again, and stay connected with all of us. So once again, good luck to all of you, and grateful to your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay sir. Your encouragement and guidance always means a lot for us. Now may I request Von Offenheim, the Vice Consul of the US Consulate, to please speak a few words. And also, if I may request ma'am, to talk a little bit about the kind of girls in STEM activities that happen overseas and how corporates and governments do work together to take the lead forward, it would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, thanks so much for having me here. It's great to get the chance to attend this evening conference, and it's been an honor to celebrate Women's Day in a room full of such accomplished women doing really interesting things. You guys have some cool projects that you're developing. It's very impressive. The US recognizes STEM as one of the biggest tools for women's empowerment. STEM's careers offer women opportunities to engage in realms of discovery and technological innovation. And they expand opportunities for women in these fields. It's an important step for us realizing greater economic success and equality for women across the board. The US is committed to supporting this goal internationally, including through the programs and engagements that we have here in Hyderabad. And we're dedicated to ensuring equal access to women for all of our higher education programs and for vocational training opportunities. We also engage women's students, scholars, and entrepreneurs through a variety of exchanges and cultural programs. For instance, the Department of State facilitates a youth exchange program that selects a handful of remarkable young women from across this region, and each summer they go to the US to study STEM courses in different universities in the United States. This month, as we celebrate Women's History Month, the US Consulate's organizing workshops for young women who are pursuing careers in STEM fields. The workshops draws from the expertise of American experts and alumni from the Department of State education programs. It focuses on pedagogy, research, collaboration, climate change, and coding in these workshops. As you said, we know that US businesses, educational institutes, nonprofits, and government need to collaborate together to produce some of these key advances in science, business, health, and a variety of other fields. It's through these exchanges between different businesses, between education, and between government that we can strengthen both of our countries and our shared future. Women's leadership and participation is key in these collaborations. It's critical for global growth and for opportunities to make our country stronger and help us reach our potential. So on behalf of the US mission in India, I applaud all the students here today for your accomplishments. I look forward to seeing the incredible things you guys do in your careers.
Thank you so much. We look forward to working very closely with you, and we hope some of our students also are part of the workshops and explore the opportunities of going to the US and getting a lot more support through the programs that the US Consulate runs. So next, I think we have a small MOU signing, and then Srinivas. Yes.
As we mentioned that this is a pilot project, and to make it to a full-blown project, we want to announce a collaboration with MathWorks, who've been supportive for this program. We request Mr. Sanjay and the whole team of MathWorks to kindly come on to the dais. Mr. Viju.
Sir, we are getting an MOU with MathWorks because through the pilot project, MathWorks has actually given free licenses to all the students who are participating in the STEM program. And as we scale, we are getting into a formal conversation on how we can scale it to more than 27 schools soon and over 100 schools next year. So more and more students can actually get access to MathWorks. And the second thing we are also looking forward, I think Sanjay will also speak, I'm so sorry. The second thing we are looking at is also how to get our startups also support through MathWorks. Many of the hardware companies or any of these design companies that are there, they'll also be supporting BHub free licenses for the startups as well. So, Sanjay, over to you. The day when you invited me for that webinar.
Yeah, thank you all. Good evening, and first of all, my big congratulations to all of you. I have definitely not done this when I was 7th standard, 8th standard, or even 11th standards. And I would have really probably, my knees would have been wobbling if I had been subjected to this kind of presentation. So congratulations. You should be all going happy, very happy that you have all done a great job. So thanks to WeHub, thanks to Deepti. Deepti has been a good friend of ours for some time, and obviously we continue to practice that. I'm happy, Deepti, to work with you in democratizing this, to take probably Jay sir with you, to take to schools where there are underprivileged kids and probably get the idea of data science there. So I have also a son which is fairly of your age. So and whenever I speak to him, teenager, whenever I speak to him, he say that don't give me another hashtag that job. So I'm not here to say jobs, but not here to preach. But couple of things. Stay curious. Stay curious. Ask the question why for everything which you see away. And I think it is Thomas Watson, who was one of the founders, earlier people who led IBM, who told that all the problems in the world would have gotten settled if man were to think. Okay, I changed that, and it's not man if people were to think. So if you think, I think we can learn more, and it's continuous learning that is going to help you better. And MathWorks is there to help you in your student journey, as you're seeing now. I'm not advising you to drop out of your colleges or schools, but if you finally start a journey in your own self, employing other people, then we are there to help you, guide you towards the process. So reach out to us. You know all the people here, and we are very happy to support you. We'll stay connected and hope to work with Jess, Sarah, you, and then Deepti to continue this. Thank you.
No, I think I've asked most of the questions there, but I think I just wanted to, definitely appreciate the efforts of Deepti and everyone at the VHub team. And I think the students here, meaning I was there during the inaugural session, and the energy that they showed, the types of questions that they asked was, probably much more, they were more inquisitive than a lot of students who are currently pursuing engineering, or even people who are passed out of engineering colleges. So these are such a bright set of students, and today I think each of the presentations was so engaging. I think they had 5 minutes, but the way they were able to sort of impress each of us, and it was very difficult to score. Given a chance, we would give them all a good prize, right? So that was one thing. But yes, despite MathWorks, Sanjay and me might be, sort of involved, but I want to point 2 people who are, instrumental in getting this up and running. One of them is Spandana. She is a chemical engineer. She is not too old. She just passed out of engineering around, she got a PhD around 3 years back. And there's Devakita, who is wrapping up her PhD at this point in time. These are people that know how the new generation students think. Meaning, I probably got a computer only when I was in class 10, but Spandana was instrumental in setting up a computer lab at her mother's school when she was actually pursuing engineering. So she's always been involved in STEM, and I think Devakita is another person whose mom used to run a school as well. So these were 2 right people to run this, and I just definitely want to appreciate their efforts and thank Deepti for giving these 2 young brains an opportunity. Yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Mr. Srinivas to share a word.
Good evening, everyone. It was absolutely amazing to see the 3 presentations that I saw, right? The depth that you went into is amazing. I just want to say a couple of things to you guys, right? One is, obviously, it's Women's Day today. So happy Women's Day, everyone. We talked about, though, one of the things that Jayesh mentioned, that only 3% of all CEOs are women, right? So clearly there are challenges that exist in being a woman and coming up in this world today. But one of the things I would advise, don't define yourself by that, and definitely don't limit yourself by that. Be the best engineer you can be, the best entrepreneur you can be, the best whatever you want to be, right? Don't limit it just by the gender. The other thing is, I just want to call out a few of the traits that I'm seeing among you guys, which is very, very impressive, and I just want you to keep it going, right? One is, don't just accept things for the way they are. Something that's common between the entrepreneurial mindset, the scientific mindset, and coming up in general, right, is question everything. Understand why things are the way they are. And if you don't think that they're right, challenge them. Figure out what else can be done to make it better. right? Keep that going. I can see that fire in all of you right now. So I really want you to keep that going. The other part of it is optimize everything for learning right now. I know you're probably being asked by a lot of people, what are you going to be, when you grow up? When you get out of school, what's your job going to be? What's your career going to be? Now, the truth is, most of you probably don't even know. A few of you will. Again, don't put that pressure on yourself. I have a niece who's 16 and all her friends in that age, and they're all stressing like crazy about what do I say I want to be, because I don't know yet. It's fine. Just enjoy your journey right now, learn as much as you can, and you'll figure it out. The last thing that I want to talk about is just relationships. We're all defined by the people that we surround ourselves with. You guys clearly have started off well. I mean, look around you right now, the people you've met in these projects from multiple schools, they're an incredible bunch of people, right? I'm sure this is going to rub off on you all and make you better people. Make sure you continue that. Keep looking for people who inspire you. Keep looking for people who can mentor you, people above you. And keep giving back. You learn a lot as you're giving back to other people as well. So again, congratulations on everything you've done. It's incredible. I look forward to seeing what you'll all come up with in the future.
Touch base on very integral aspects which most of us can consider. Mr. Malcolm, a quick word from you.
It'll be very quick. I'm not Fidel Castro. It won't go on for 4 hours. Sorry. Congratulations to all the students. Really tremendous job. You've done really, really, really well. Particularly special on International Women's Day. Also, happy birthday, Anushka. I'm going to get a shameless plug-in for one of the greatest poets of all time, rock stars. Hopefully those of you aged 14 or 15 have heard of Freddie Mercury. Good, I'll get a shameless plug-in there. In our schools, and welcome to my colleagues from Sherrick, Oak Ridge and Keystone, we always look at teaching collaboration, critical thinking, communication, creativity, all those kind of things. But then the IB and others say, well, can we apply them in real life? You can probably hear where the quote's coming from there. Can we apply them in real life? Can we apply those skills in a real life situation is the exact IB term. And for those of you who don't know, I've worked at the IB for many, many years, and we always used to argue, is this the real life, or is this just fantasy? Thank you, someone's awake. So is this the real life, or is this just fantasy? What is real life? What's the point of learning these skills if you can't then apply them? And that's the beauty of this event from WiDS, and with everybody here, is that you've had a chance to use those skills that you've been developing in classrooms and actually use them in a real life scenario. And what's even more special here is that we're able to work with Ramya and the team to look at ways in which we can actually develop internships, to develop relationships with the wonderful startup colleagues that we see here, and so students can actually use those skills in real life situations and apply them in a natural way. So we are able to take that real life, and it's not a fantasy, it's real, it can be used, and as women, you're going to change the world. So thank you to you all, and well done.
Please, next we have Ms. Ifat ma'am. I was at Chirek first time, and that's when I met ma'am. So many of these people had the fortune of inviting me onto some discussion someday, and they didn't realize what they did.
No, we did know what we were doing and what we were stepping into. Good evening, everyone. I think it's been a lovely time. Time has flown by. We didn't realize that these students, young students, grade 9, grade 8, grade 11, would hold our attention for so long, and we would not even wink a wink. Lovely. I think I would like to speak from the teacher's perspective, because that was really lovely. Teachers are always learners first, and I think the teachers learned a lot from you. How to do teamwork, the use of data science, the use of MathLab, And I'm sure that both our teachers are going to come back to us and ask for math lab work. They are going to ask for resources, and there is one more nodding her head there. And you are going to ensure that we will be able to use data science in our classroom, because certainly we will be able to do it. We are talking about quality education. Quality education starts right from assessments, something which you may not like, but then we have huge data on assessments. Schools gather that data. What do we use it for? If we can use it to enhance teaching in the class, that will be lovely. I think that is one takeaway that my teachers have, and I have to talk to them yet what all that I have let myself into because of Deepti. But then have a good evening, everyone. Congratulations, children. You have done a very wonderful job. Happy Women's Day, everyone.
Next, can we have Ms. Sanchita from Zurich as well?
Good evening, everybody. It was a pleasure being here, and congratulations to all the participants. As my colleague, Mr. Malcolm just said, it was a wonderful manifestation of all the skills, communication, thinking, collaboration, and you said it all. And I was supposed to speak from your perspective. I think all these months, past few months, you have had a wonderful takeaway, and this would be your exposure to data science, which is going to become so very important in the next, in this decade. So I think you started off very well, and I would like to thank Ms. Deepti and the VHub for organizing this and for giving the students this opportunity to learn. And I think you've already embarked on a fantastic learning journey. Thank you all.
Thanks, ma'am. And last but not least, Ms. Lakshmi from Keystone. She has a very cool school, and I actually went to the robotics competition. Yeah. You can be louder, right?
As always, it's exciting to be here at WeHub. When we first, Deepti shared about this program, I got very excited. Keystone being a very authentic project approach school, anything about creativity or innovation always excites us. Just two things I wanted to share. I think we all spoke a lot about data science, right? To all the girls here and all the women here, the most important is, yes, we do get opportunities to understand, and we get that exposure to these kind of skills. Now what is important is how are you going to take this forward, right? It's not that every day your teachers are going to be with you, your school is going to be with you, WeHub is going to be with you to kind of tell you this is what you should do today, this is what you should do tomorrow. What is important is how can you apply this in your real life? It could be just at home. You can just start by understanding the finances at your home. You can just start by analyzing, what's happening at your school. If there's a problem, how do you analyze it? How do you come up with a solution for it? So one is understanding that it's not just about getting exposure and skill, it is about applying your knowledge and turning it into a habit. And what I see is all the entrepreneurs here, I'm sure with 10 years of experience or even 20 years of experience, all the skills over years turn into habits. So once, when these things become habits, you're going to influence others. So that's what I believe we all should, work on at schools as well. And I was just going through the World Economic Forum Future for Jobs, and it was very interesting to observe that in the future, women's share in jobs is going to be around 16% in data science, around 26% in cloud, and maybe here and there, and my numbers might not be perfect, but what intrigued me was it was around 64% for people and culture. So women are going to take their share of 64% in jobs in women and culture. So on this Women's Day, I feel that women have a bigger responsibility in this world. So when you're talking about 64% in people and culture, it is not just about being a data scientist, or it's not just about
really being great in science, what we really need to bring into the spaces wherever we work or learn is being empathetic and being authentic. And I think women do a better job at it. It's not that men don't, but there is some inherent quality that people carry as women. So I hope that all of you would try to be authentic irrespective of which role you take up in the future, and try to be empathetic in whatever you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. And with that, we come to the end of the thing, right? There's one more thing. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh yes, we should also know about the winners, right? Yes. But everybody is a winner, isn't it? Yes. No, yes? Yes. So shall we stick with everybody is a winner? Andrew, what do you think? So Andrew, you will be making the announcement. Should we say everybody is a winner, or do you want to make? Anyway, so I'm just kidding. We do have winners, not because we have awards. It's just more class. But we are really thrilled to have Mr. Andrew Fleming, Dr. Andrew Fleming, join us. He's the British Deputy High Commissioner. And I also have to share one thing. So yesterday at 1 o'clock we decided the event. And I got to know that at 4 o'clock today, Andrew and I will be together at an event. So then we were together at an event. So I actually called Andrew and said, I know that you're going to be somewhere from 4 to 5. At 5:30 you will be joining us, right? And he said, oh, okay, fine. So that's how he's here. And I have to say that I was at that event. It got slightly delayed. But Andrew got immensely delayed, and in spite of that, he made it a point to come be here. So thank you so much, Andrew, for always being a great supporter and a great coach. So, to get to the fun part of it, we would like to request you to speak a little bit on what we are trying to do together, and also be the favorite of everybody by announcing the winners as well. Yeah?
Thank you, Dipti. Hi, everybody. Happy International Women's Day to all of you. Whether you're a girl or a boy, a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. This is a day to celebrate. And it's sad, actually, that we have to celebrate Women's Day, because really women should be celebrated each and every day, 365 days a year, an extra day in leap years, of course, 24/7. But we have this thing about gender disparity in the world, and until we can achieve equity, it's right that we continue to have this day to remember. One day to remember and think about women, but remember the other 364 days are to be going out, actions to break the bias, to challenge, and every time we do that, we help all women in trying to close this equality gap. So that's where I come from. And STEM is really interesting, because we're seeing more and more women and girls getting involved, getting motivated, getting interested in STEM. And so it's really great that this event has taken place, and so many of you have been part of it. I was reading on the way here that in the last 3 years alone, something like 53,000 more Indian women have got involved in STEM, which sounds like a fairly big number, but then India is a pretty big country, so perhaps that number needs to go up a bit to make progress. I don't know if anybody here knows the country that has the most women working in STEM. Srinivas is extremely clever, so I'm sure he does. Do you?
I'm going to guess it's England.
No. No, just because you were born there, Srini, you wouldn't think. And how about you? Do you know? No, you don't know either. Okay. Well, I'm assuming then, unless somebody shouts out, it's Georgia. Georgia has 53% women working in STEM, and second, not very far behind, I'm not going to list them all, don't worry. Second, not very far behind, is Mongolia. So they are the top 2 countries in the world with women working in STEM. The highest large country in this list, as in large in population, because Mongolia is a huge country. The highest large country in terms of population is the USA with 47%. England's not even in the top 30, Shrini, I'm afraid. So But I do want to say that for the UK and for our partnership with India, which is called the 2030 Roadmap, agreed by my Prime Minister and Prime Minister Modi last May, STEM and more generally science and tech is right front and centre in our shared ambition to work together. So we are looking to do more and engage in new and different ways. I'm always very keen to look at where and how and what we can do with dynamic and fantastic organisations like WeHub. Dipti has been a fantastic friend for a long time. I've been in Hyderabad since the inception of WeHub, and as she told me yesterday, I have been here or in their previous location every single one of Women's Days, which I'm sure you've already heard is also their birthday. And I hope that we've already sung happy birthday to WeHub. Have we done that? No? That's shocking. I think we have to do it before the prizes, because all of the WeHub staff, they deserve to have something. So please, you know, a little bit of energy before this, so everybody knows happy birthday. Off we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear WeHub. Happy birthday to you. Okay, so without further ado, I think we should move on to the prizes. Yes. And you know, it's like being at the Oscars or something, really, or the Eurovision Song Contest, which I know Srini will be like me growing up.
So, I know we had 70.
Okay. We're just announcing the winner. We're not going to do three, two in reverse order. I think we should do like that. Like,
and then when you announce the order, we'll also like to request
We'll also have jury members from corporates, so they'll be speaking on why they have chosen a particular.
okay, so I will announce the order in reverse from 3 to 1.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and then each one, is someone going to speak, or am I going to do the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay.
So for the third prize winner, Sumit.
Okay, so for the third place, we have Group C. That's really popular. Is someone going to talk about Group C and why they came third?
Yeah, so congratulations Group C for getting the third prize, and congratulations Group C for bagging the third prize. So I think you spoke on rural India, like education in rural India. So like as everybody knows, the majority of the population of rural is the rural part of India. I think it's more than 65%. And there is where the majority of the population lies, and where the education needs to be focused on. Most of the people in the urban areas are educated; they have access to education, and especially the quality education where we have been focusing on. So yeah, that's a very interesting thing that you've chosen, and also the presentation and the communication skills were very nice. So congratulations.
I think rural India is a fantastic topic to focus on, and congratulations again to Group C. So in second place, I'm happy to announce that the runners-up are Group A.
Sure. So congratulations, Group A. I think I must say that all the groups were so great. Between the groups was really a tough task. I'm sure everybody agree, and then I'm sure we would have differences as well. Group A, the topic was economic growth and the gender differentiation, right? And I think this is the topic that, this is the area where we within our company, and I'm sure other corporates as well, are trying to figure out how do we fix it. So very relevant topic. And in fact, earlier today we had a couple of panel discussions within our company how to improve on those, and also very apt topic. And I think the analysis that you have done with respect to data to identify the problem was very good. So I think that's something which is good, because you had a data and to back up how did you arrive at this problem, right? So that was good. I think the other thing was the presentation. I think that really stood out. I think everybody was answering the questions, and also the answers were based on the data that you have selected. So these two things were really great. And I think everything else was also, falling in place. So thank you again, and it was a wonderful presentation.
Well done, ladies. Brilliant. And now we come to the moment we're going to announce the winner.
Are you all waiting?
Are you all waiting? Any guesses? Okay. It is going to be the winner of this competition is Group E. That's a popular.
Oh, very popular. And maybe request Ms. Lakshmi from Boston Dynamics to talk about why we have an amazing winner.
First of all, congratulations to the winning team. Of course, all other teams have also done a good job. Because we have to pick up funds, we have gone with a specific team, not to declare other teams. Yeah, girls, your presentation skills were really nice. What I have really enjoyed is your analytical part of your presentation. The way you explain your analytical piece of your work was really good. And by profession, I'm a data scientist. So I think few of you have already mentioned that you want to pursue your careers in data science. So women in data science space, I would like to say that this is the right career choice, because as Deepti also mentioned, Rajesh Ranjanji has also mentioned, by nature women are organized and good at analytical skills. So always this is one of the fields which is good to pick up as a career choice. And as we all know, world is moving towards data science, AI, Web3 and all. So start working on that, learn in depth, and always stick to that why factor. Whatever you are learning, if you have that piece of focus on why, then definitely you will flourish in this space. All the best to all the teams. And I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate all the school managements who have encouraged students to do this data science and engage. And right skills are really required in this space. Deep understanding of what we are doing and why we are doing, that will help you grow faster. Thank you, Deepti, for being here.
One comment, I'm taking the liberty to talk about this team, and which really stood out really well as compared to other teams. I think the solution that you presented was actually data driven, and that really stood out in this competition. So the problem statements everybody analyzed based on the data. So the solution that you offered with respect to the app, with the data, I think that really shows the power of data science as well. So in future editions, I think that's something that we should take look forward. Thank you.
For a second, so that the group C can take a picture. And once that is done, may I request Srini and also Catherine to join us here, so that all the winners can take a picture with the chief guest of the day. Team E, if you can just move so that we. And you might be wondering where the awards are. They will be sent to your school, along with the certificate which will be signed by hand. So apologies, we didn't have those ready.
Yeah, it's online. No, you'll get the data from our bot.
So can we have all the team assemble on my right side, please, on here, along with the school's print on my. So can we please request all the winners, 1, 2, 3, everybody to please come join us here, along with Srini and Catherine and also Dr. Fleming, along with the faculty as well. Find the squad, guys. Let's take a picture. Sanjay, Bandana.
Excuse me. आसिम का आसिम अब आएगा ना यार ना बाजू आसिम ये आ गया साइड करके लिया अभी क्या है बहुत बात मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ आप किसी को बोल के पूरा 5 मिनट से चेयर बनाएंगे पूरा ग्रुप ले लेंगे हमें इधर जाते हैं
Thank you.